How does a haunted house based on a worldwide hit game located in one of the most iconic horror attractions of all time fade into complete obscurity in less than a decade? It seems impossible, but it's absolutely true. When the Five Nights at Freddy's haunted house opened in the iconic Fright Dome in Las Vegas, it was bound to be a smash hit. But after operating for just 1 month, this almost guaranteed success quickly bled into nothingness, totally forgotten about by all but those who visited, and even forgotten about by some of those who did. In this video, we're going to discuss how one of the largest modern gaming franchises dove into the world of real-life horror, exploring how the house came to be, its short-lived existence, its reception, and the strange story of what didn't come next. And right now, all of this is excitingly relevant given that, embarrassingly contrary to my previous 14-minute-long video suggesting otherwise, Universal confirmed not only the presence of the franchise, but rather an entire house themed around it at 2025's Halloween Horror Nights event. Hi, I'm Jo, and I cover theme park history, hot takes, and all things visitor attractions with a healthy dose of horror thrown in there. Before we begin, make sure you're subscribed if you're interested in this kind of content, and make sure your notifications are turned on so you don't miss any upcoming videos. But without further ado, let's get straight into this one and explore the story of the forgotten Five Nights at Freddy's Halloween attraction. This is an editor's note. I'm going to be really real with you guys right now. I actually started recording this video almost a year ago and then left the audio to rot and die and didn't come back to it until right now, because there's never been a more relevant time to come back to this. So I'm not going to re-record the entire thing. I already had a recorded draft, so I do apologise if there's any kind of inconsistencies or a lack of continuity, or I sound a bit rushed in places. There has been some growth, and we talk about this a lot. There has been some growth, and that's all we can ask for, and that's all I can give. So regardless, I hope you enjoy this video. Opening in 2003, Fright Dome in Las Vegas was straight from the mind of Jason Egan of Egan Productions, who is described as a hauntrepreneur, which is literally my dream job title. Regarded as an industry expert, Egan adopts a very hands-on involved approach to his projects and has worked with some of the biggest industry giants like Lionsgate, Warner Bros. And Twisted Pictures, who you may know for their work on Saw. While Egan has since worked on other incredibly popular and well-regarded attractions, one of his biggest projects was undeniably the Fright Dome, which was located at the Adventure Dome at the Circus Circus Hotel in the Las Vegas North Strip. So let's discuss its origins. Circus Circus is one of the Strip's oldest hotels, having opened in 1968 and operating for almost 60 years. With over 3,700 rooms, it's also one of the largest hotels, only behind the likes of absolute Goliaths including the MGM Grand and Luxor. In an effort to increase attendance, specifically family attendance, in the 90s, including among locals and day visitors, the Strip hotels were diversifying. From world-famous entertainers to magic dinner shows, you name it, someone tried it. One of the most notable of these developments was the MGM Grand Adventures theme park, which was announced in October 1989 and opened in late 1993. Described as a product of family fun, Circus Circus's answer to the MGM Grand Adventure was Grand Slam Canyon, a 5-acre pink-tinged glass dome announced in 1992. Grand Slam Canyon opened in 1993 and featured water rides and pools, attractions including a roller coaster and a laser tag arena, and animatronic dinosaurs known to spit water on unsuspecting guests. After a brief closure in 1994, $15 million worth of attractions were added, and rides continued to be added steadily over the years that followed. And following a brief stint as Grand Slam Canyon Adventure Dome, the attraction would come to be known only as Adventure Dome as of 1997. Following a few years of operation, it was decided it was time to diversify Adventure Dome's offerings beyond just new rides. As with many attractions, it was identified that Circus Circus was plagued by routinely low October attendance figures, so Fright Dome, a brand new, spooky, never-before-seen attraction, was introduced to address this. Fright Dome was described as being 250,000 square foot of pure fear, featuring haunted houses, scare zones, live shows, roller coasters, and much more. Even going so far as being described as a haunted theme park, the attraction utilised industry-expected effects like fog and live actors. Reviews described the overlay as being one of the most extreme and state-of-the-art haunted houses in the world, and it was frequently recognised as one of the nation's best haunted attractions, featuring a mix of fresh, original properties and horror Goliaths. I'll talk more about Fright Dome as a broader product in another video, but it really exceeded its intended results, drawing in new guests during low visitation periods and helping Circus Circus to build a reputation for offering consistently high quality and exciting products throughout the year. In September 2016, in its 14th year of operation, it was announced that one of the haunted houses within the attraction was going to be themed around Five Nights at Freddy's, in collaboration with Scott Games. The news was first broken on Steam on September 7th and was picked up by news outlets in the following week. The Fright Dome team would be the first in the world to bring the game to life, with the event giving fans the opportunity to step into a life-size version of the game. The press release shared that guests would be given a room-by-room tour by the on-duty security guard, and had to keep their eyes peeled for lurking shadows, movements and noises from the notorious characters residing within the pizzeria in order to survive the experience. The characters guests could expect to see would be Freddy, Bonnie, Chica and Foxy, all of whom were noted to have a tendency to wander the hallways and stalk visitors. So let's talk through the house itself. Fright Dome offered maze guides in their houses, who were effectively storytellers that both kept the group in check in terms of behaviour and pacing, and added an extra layer of storytelling with commentary throughout. The guide for the Five Nights at Freddy's house was a lone security detail who would count down the hours until it was time to leave. After an opening spiel from the tour guide, guests would be greeted by a Freddy Fazbear character at the grand reopening of the restaurant. Following through a plush curtain, they would then move into the back surveillance office, complete with drawings on the wall and a Mr. Cupcake prop placed on the computer screen. Next up, guests would enter the main birthday party room, where they'd see an animatronic band on stage and empty tables with party hats. After passing decapitated plush heads and an interval-based scare from the Chica animatronic, guests would squeeze through a tight hallway into an arcade area, complete with a ball drop scare ball pit, arcade games and a claw machine. Next up was the employees-only hallway, which led to a stretching prize counter area, and after passing through a disorienting checkerboard curtain maze, there was a lot of filler before exiting. As guests moved through the house, gameplay-inspired maps on the wall depicted movement through the rooms in the building and time passing in hour increments, from 1 AM to 2 AM and so on. Walk-around characters, functioning animatronics and jump scare elements were used, and there were plenty of boo-hole spaces as well. One report indicated that the house relied heavily on sound-based scares, with lots of unexpected sudden loud noises, but for many guests the costumes were the most memorable part. The house received mixed reviews, with most of the online horror journals or reporters sharing stories of great pacing and storytelling, plus exciting animatronics, while the general public reviews were less favourable, sharing that while the theming and production value were great, it wasn't scary and the reviewers were disappointed at the lack of character presence. Interestingly, this seems to be the intention, as Jason Egan shared how the house was designed to be completely different from the others on offer at the event, including a Krampus and a Ouija-themed house. As one of his favourites in Fright Dome history, he described the house as being fun, rather than scary or dark as you may expect from a haunted house. Due to the temporary nature of the Fright Dome attraction, which operated annually for less than a month a year, it was inevitable that the attraction would be short-lived, and after its fleeting appearance, the Five Nights at Freddy's house would never be seen again, despite hopes from fans, especially international fans, who didn't get the chance to visit. But given the success of the franchise in the last decade and the rising popularity of horror events, why hasn't Five Nights at Freddy's made an appearance at any other horror attraction? One of the key issues the house faced was that the franchise's target audience did not align with the profile of the typical event attendee. Not only was the Fright Dome attraction age restricted for under 12s, but the average age of visitors to Vegas in 2022 was 40 years old, and in 2017, only 8% of visitors were travelling with under 21s in their parties, which rounds off to around 1 in 12. While obviously the Fright Dome is no longer operating in Vegas, so this isn't applicable to that, this could be indicative that the franchise will also not be featured in the upcoming year-round Universal Horror Unleashed attraction, as the target market and potentially most engaged market segment will likely not be the ones attending. However, it would still make for an excellent collaboration and one that I'd like to see. This same too young to attend conundrum could also be applicable to other horror events outside of Las Vegas. While the original audience has since aged up and are now old enough to attend these events, it was reported that 38% of the Five Nights at Freddy's movie audience was under 18, with 17% being aged 2 to 11. As such, there's still an enthusiastic emerging fanbase who are simply too young to attend. All of this to say, despite the content lending itself nicely to a horror attraction, it may just have too significant an audience divide to justify including it in the lineup alongside classics like The Exorcist, Saw, or Texas Chainsaw, for example. Following the 2016 house, licensing issues between Fright Dome and Circus Circus arose, which led to concerns about it not returning for the 2017 season. While the Fright Dome did eventually operate that year, it was notably without the Five Nights at Freddy's house. While Scott Cawthon indicated that it could return the following year if negotiations went smoothly, it was announced that the Fright Dome attraction would be cancelled entirely for the 2018 season, and not return until 2020 as Fright Ride, a socially distanced ride-through experience which operated for a single year before closing permanently. Since Fright Dome's closure, Jason Egan, the creative mind behind the project, has continued to work on other horror attractions, most notably on Fright Ride and on other horror-themed escape rooms, featuring properties like Saw and It. Considering the rise in popularity of escape rooms over the past decade, and the upcoming competitor Universal Horror Unleashed due to dominate the local industry, it appears less likely than ever that the Fright Dome, let alone a Five Nights at Freddy's house inside the attraction, will be appearing anytime soon. But given a recent change in circumstances, there's now nothing to stop the franchise from appearing at said Horror Unleashed when they inevitably rotate the houses, which would be really cool. Speaking of, over the past few years, there have been some whisperings and rumours that there would be a Five Nights at Freddy's house at Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights, and up until this year, these too had failed to materialise. But in July 2025, it was officially confirmed that the franchise would be debuting in the parks, marking its only appearance in a physical medium in almost a decade. If you fancy laughing at my overconfidence, you can watch my video breaking down why Five Nights at Freddy's was probably not going to come to Halloween Horror Nights. And we can all sit in shock and excitement knowing that despite a huge hiatus and half a dozen factors working against it, the franchise is being featured. But that is the end of this video. Did you ever get the chance to go to the Five Nights at Freddy's house? If so, I'd love to hear more about your experience, but if not, if they opened it again, would you go or would you give it a miss? Are you heading down to Horror Nights on either coast to experience the house this year? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and be sure to check out my other videos for more theme park hot takes, attraction histories, and weird and wonderful tourism products.